Mid-90s. Well, I'd say the mid-90s are when we started entering this period of, I guess for want of a better word, crisis. So varroa mites were introduced in the mid-80s. 1990, Africanized bees crossed the border into the United States. In the early 90s, the varroa mites developed resistance to the only two pesticides approved for their control, coumaphos and taufluvalinate, so beekeepers were effectively left with no chemical controls for this parasitic mite.
The bee populations and the insect populations in general are declining because we've taken away most of the habitat. In this state, there's less than 1% of the prairie left.
If bees are doing well, that means you have a landscape that's supportive of insects in general. And so, as you know, the insects are the animals that turn plant material into animal material that other things eat. So bees are necessary as pollinators, but then bees and other insects, form the basis of food webs as well. So if those things aren't doing well, eventually no wildlife is doing well.
Bees in general, and the honeybee in particular, they're important because they are the major pollinators of the plants we grow for all kinds of purposes, food, fiber, and the rest. So about 90 crops in the United States are dependent upon Apis mellifera, the western honeybee, for managed pollinator services. The advantage of the honeybee, which is an introduced species that's been sort of semi-domesticated for thousands of years, is that because it's a managed species, you can deliver pollination services when they're needed. So it's less of a hit or miss affair. But altogether, in North America, we have at least 4,000 species of bees, and they all contribute one way or another.
So many things that people can do to help. I mean, you start at the individual level in the landscapes that you are responsible for as an individual, and you start by not trying to kill all of the insect life in your yard. And that includes bees, but it includes butterflies and other pollinators as well.
So the biggest thing people can do to help is let flowering plants bloom. In other words, mow higher, let the clover bloom, and put habitat back. Plant prairie plants in your yard, in strips along the road, along buildings. So just give them some food back.
And I think the simplest, most direct, and overall most beneficial thing that people can do is plant more flowers. It sounds very simplistic, but in fact, one of the complicating factors in helping bees cope with these diverse stresses is that it's getting increasingly difficult for them to find decent food, good nutrition.
My very earliest memories, from childhood are of playing outside with my brother and my sister and our friends, and we caught things, including bees. We would go around and there was clover in our yard and other things, and there were bees there, and we would go around with jars and catch bees. So that's the, early interest in pollinators, but then that also included catching garter snakes and crawfish and other things. So that's, my earliest interests were there, and I've come back to them, as an adult too.
I guess it's the fascination for me. I'm drawn to the bees and the butterflies because I'm also drawn to the flowers, and I like to see their interaction. And we need them so much, and right now they need us so much.